Hey everybody, it's me again, and I am here for a super awesome, super special review for you today. I'm going to be reviewing, ta-da, a blinding palette. No, today I'm going to be reviewing the Sephora Pantone Universe Facets of Marsala Multi-Finish Eye Palette. Whew, that's a mouthful. Now this palette is being released with Sephora partnering with Pantone Universe for their Color of the Year collection. For those of you who don't know or aren't familiar, Pantone Universe is a company that kind of works to catalog like every color in existence, and they look at color trends in fashion, in makeup, you know, what have you. And every year, Sephora and Pantone partner with each other because Pantone releases a color of the year. It's a color that they think is going to be trendy that year, or they think should be trendy that year, and they partner with Sephora to release a whole line of makeup devoted to that color of the year. It's been kind of a pretty big deal for a few years now. Last year the color of the year was Radiant Orchid, the year before that it was Emerald, and the year before that it was Tangerine. Now, I personally am thrilled that Pantone Universe chose Marsala as the color of the year this year. I love red eyeshadow. I love reds and burgundies in fashion, particularly darker brown toned reds. It's one of my favorite colors of all time to wear, both on my face and in my clothing. So when I heard that this was going to be the color of the year, I was like, yes! And I was very excited about it because this color is wearable for once, which is so exciting, because Radiant Orchid last year, I mean, it's a fun color. It's like a bright, almost neon pinky purple color, but it is not very wearable at all. I'm going to talk about the palette, I'm going to talk about the packaging, you know, the layout of the palette, all the shadows, the textures, the different finishes, and bottom line, I'm going to let you guys know whether or not this palette is worth the money. From a purely value standpoint, from a purely amount of shadows for, you know, amount of money standpoint, just not even looking at the quality at all, you get 24 shadows in this palette for $39. It's 0.50 grams per shadow, which are pretty, I mean, that's a pretty small amount, but honestly, I never go through eyeshadow that fast. When you look at the little, like, when this is supposed to expire, it's supposed to last for 12 months. Eyeshadows I found have lasted between, you know, 1 and 5 years, but I don't really go through a whole lot of eyeshadows, so small pans don't really bother me. That is a lot of variety of colors and finishes you're getting for really a pretty decent price when you compare that to, you know, things like the Naked palettes or, you know, Laura Mercier or some of the other things you'll find in Sephora. This is a pretty damn good value. Let's talk about the packaging a little bit, since I saved the packaging specifically to talk about it. This is what the outer box looks like. This is how it came to me. It is the outer plasticky type packaging, which is in a Marsala tone, which is really nice. And then on the back, you've got the Pantone labels and names for all of the colors featured in the palette, which is, I mean, I don't really understand it from a decorating standpoint, but hey, this packaging is okay. I mean, you slide it open like so, and then there's this little square here that the palette was fit into. It was a little bit tough to get the palette out at first, but you know, it didn't get damaged in removal, so honestly that's not a huge deal for me, and I'm glad that it's in there securely so it doesn't get bounced around in shipping too much. Let's talk about the packaging of the palette itself. The palette itself is made with this kind of plastic, and it's, I mean, it doesn't feel flimsy necessarily. I don't want to say that it feels flimsy by any stretch, but it doesn't feel as durable as some of the other palettes I have. So keep that in mind when traveling with this palette, is that it, you know, the packaging isn't as durable as it could be. But then again, when I travel with my makeup, I almost always put it in bubble wrap anyway, just because I'm paranoid and I spend a lot of money on makeup, so I want to make sure that it is protected. But you may want to keep that in mind with this palette. You will definitely have to wrap it in some kind of bubble wrap or it's gonna break. The front of the palette is a very shiny, reflective rose gold color. I can kind of move it around so you can see that color. Very, very reflective, very pretty looking when you first pull it out, but it's a fingerprint magnet. There you go, check that out. Look at all those fingerprints. Mmm, yummy. For collectors, that might be something that really bothers them because they want their makeup to look polished and pristine and nice, but I don't really care about fingerprints. Like, I can wipe this off and chances are it probably will clean pretty evenly, but that's something to keep in mind if you're a makeup collector who likes to like keep things pristine. Let's open up this palette here. It's got a nice big old mirror. Hi guys. Nice big old mirror, very travel friendly. And here are the shades in the palette. Check those out. How beautiful is this palette? It's very beautifully laid out. These 4 shades up here in the middle of the top, I like to divide these into like quads, just because that's how my eye sees it. But this quad up at the top here are all the Marsala colors. You've got Marsala Matte, Marsala Satin, Marsala Metallic, and Marsala Glitter. So it's the same shade in 4 different finishes, which is really cool, and I'll show you swatches of that in a minute. But all around it, you've got all of these shades that play beautifully with this color, and shades that you probably wouldn't think would play well with Marsala, you know, looking at it from the outside, but when you see it all together in the palette, you can really start to see how these work together. Now these pans are a little bit small for your fingertips. Then again, I have sausage fingers, so I am not great with small pans and swatching. However, these pans do fit a brush in them perfectly fine, so not a big deal unless you put your makeup on exclusively with your fingers. Here's them on my fingertips, so you can see very, very pigmented, beautiful, beautiful shades. Let's go ahead and start up at the top of my hand here. Oh God, my tendons are getting in the way. These do look almost completely different from one another, even though they're supposed to be the same shade. Here's our swatches. Bam! The top one is not the best. Not my best swatch job, but my tendons got in the way. This one is Marsala Glitter. This one is Marsala Metallic. This is Marsala Satin. And this is Marsala Matte on the bottom. So I'll go ahead and hold that up. This is in natural light, so you can see all of these as you would see them in natural sunlight. These are gorgeous, gorgeous colors, and one of the things I noticed is that these Marsala shades, even though they're supposed to be the same shade in different finishes, they look very, very different from one another. And that can actually come in handy because, you know, you don't want just one shade in a ton of different finishes. But some of them you can see metallic is a little bit on the lighter side, whereas satin it's very, very deep and rich and dark. So you can almost create an entire eye look just with this color in different finishes. You can really play around with them, so if you're looking for something that's a little more subtle, a little more light on the Marsala side of things, you can use the metallic shade, or the matte shade is also very sheer, you know, shearable. Shearable? Is that a word? You can shear it out, but if you're looking for something a little bit deeper, a little more evening, you can go with something like the satin, which is very deep, or the glitter, which has a lot of sparkle, a lot of reflect to play with. I love that they all look different based on what finishes they are, because it really gives you an opportunity to play and kind of ease your way into using this color, because it can look a little scary at first. From a quality standpoint, the Marsala shades are stunning. They look gorgeous. If you have blue eyes, you need this palette. Like, you will thank me later. Blue eyes love warm shades, and this palette has a lot of warm shades in it. You've got lots of deep, dark burgundy reds. You've got a nice orange, burnt orange color over here. You've got some great warm shades in there, and I'll tell you what, blue-eyed people, Marsala is the best thing to happen to Sephora and Pantone for people with blue eyes. And it can even bring out the mahogany tones in brown eyes, which is why I love this palette. It goes so well with so many different eye colors. I love the color of the year in general because it goes so well with so many different eye colors, so many different skin types, whether you've got, you know, very, very fair neutral tone skin like me, or you're more deep skinned, this will work for you in some facet or another. One major negative is that there's a few glitter shades in here. Now, I don't really use glittery eyeshadow at all. I don't like it. It falls out a lot. For me, I mean, it's gonna fall out no matter what you do, and then you end up with glitter all over your face. There are 5 shades in here that definitely have glitter in them, but of those 5, there's only about 4 or so where the glitter actually shows up on your eye, and usually you can make those work if you just kind of tap off the excess and make sure you really get rid of that glitter before you put them on. Another thing I'm gonna say that I love about this palette, the names of all the shadows are on the back of the palette. I love this idea. I wish more companies would do this instead of putting that stupid plastic sheet over the top of the palette that people either throw away and then you don't know the names of the eye colors you're using, or you keep it and it just annoys the crap out of you. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch a few of these colors, these other colors aside from the Marsala shades for you. I'll try and pick a few different finishes here. Well, there you go, there's an example of some of the shades. Gorgeous, gorgeous colors. The first one that I went ahead and swatched for you guys is Butter Rum. Butter Rum is a gorgeous golden copper color. Oh, I have this on my eye today on the outer part of the lid. It is beautiful, beautiful on people with blue eyes. You could use this as a one eyeshadow look if you wanted to. It just brings so much life to your face. It's very golden, very glimmery, very beautiful. Second shade, go ahead and swatch right next door to it, is Carob Brown. Carob Brown is a kind of warmer toned matte brown. There you go, perfect for use in the crease. You gotta be careful with these because they are pigmented, so they can get a little bit strong, a little bit fast, and they can go a little bit patchy. Some of the matte ones do. So this one is Red Mahogany up here, and you can see it's got some pink glitter in it. It's a deep burgundy brown red with a bunch of pink glitter in it, which I'm not a huge fan of glitter, but this one is definitely workable. I think I'd be able to kind of knock that glitter off my brush before I applied it. Finally, we have the one shade that I have a huge problem with in this palette. Of all of the shades in here, there's only one shade that I really, really, really don't like, and that shade is Nimbus Cloud. It's this one right here. In the pan it looks like a bright, vibrant silver, but when you swatch it, it's very, very sheer. There's like nothing to it at all. It's all glitter, and I'm just not a huge fan of that one. Bottom line, do I like this palette? Do I think it's worth the money? Absolutely. There are some dupes out there for some of the shades in this palette, and if you want me to, go ahead and leave a like on this video, and if I get enough likes, I'll go ahead and make a video specifically pointing out dupes in this palette for drugstore, because I found a few of them already and I'd love to look deeper into that. But that said, if you've got the extra $39 laying around, I would say this palette is totally worth it. It's beautiful. They've got a large variety of shades, both cool and warm tones, and it's a great way to first, you know, kind of learn about and play around with this Marsala shade. Next week, I've got a tutorial for this eye makeup here that's going to be coming up, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button and keep an eye out for that. I hope you guys found this review helpful, and I hope you enjoy the palette. If you've bought it, go ahead and leave a comment below, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.